In this video, I will be going through Lesson 11 in the Microsoft Official Academic course for 2013. This lesson is how to perform mail merges, and we're just going to do some of the very basic tools, and we're going to learn them by merging a table of people and addresses with a template letter and adding the custom information into that letter. That particular application is still used, but it's probably not as helpful today as being able to mail merge into emails, or I have even used mail merge to make 500 tickets with individual numbers on them for a sporting event, so an organization could track the sales and the receipts of their tickets. So there's a lot of opportunity to use this tool. Basically anything where you have something that's mostly duplicated over and over and over again with a couple of custom things incorporated. With this lesson, as it says in the assignment, we're only going to work through page 377. So it really is just an introduction to using MailMerge, but it should get you a number of the tools that you need to repeat this exercise on your own and to expand it into other custom applications that you might need. We get started with a blank copy of Word, and while we could just open the letter itself, we're going to use the MailMerge wizard to bring in each and every part of this exercise. So we're going to go to the Mailings tab, and we are going to, in the Start Mail Merge group, use the Start Mail Merge menu by clicking on this button. Now, if you're using a Mac, you will not have the step-by-step Mail Merge wizard, but you will have the individual steps as buttons here in the Mailings tab. So you'll have to adjust on your own. I did provide a link for someone going over how to do this on a Mac so that you can visually see where the buttons are. The step-by-step Mail Merge wizard is a 6-step process. We need to start with the main document, which is going to be a letter. Once we acknowledge that we're going to do a letter, we're going to step 2 to select the starting document. And we're going to use a current document. We're going to start from an existing document. We will click the radio button that says Start from Existing Document. We'll leave More Files selected and select Open and go find the scholarship letter that we want to be working with. Using this open tool, it's only going to find files that you can use as a starting document. So when you go to your student folder, you won't see the database or spreadsheet files because it's only working for word processing style files. So here we see a letter that was written about a scholarship by Matthias Berndt of the Office of Enrollment Services. And this is a file that they have set aside, and clearly we're going to need to change this placeholder for 20XX to 2019, or whatever year we're currently in when you're watching this video. Now that we have imported this existing document, we're going to use the current document and move on to step 3. So this is our main document that we are working with. And here in step 3, we need to use an existing list to bring in the data that we're going to work with. And when we first click on Browse to get the list, it automatically takes us to the folder My Documents, My Data Sources. Well, this isn't where we've saved the student files. We want studentlist.mdb, and we didn't put it here, and we wouldn't put it here. We have to go on our computer and find that file. I have just briefly put these here on my desktop. And student list MDB is an Access database file. Access has this icon. It's dark red with a key on it. And we click on that and say Open. Notice here it's only looking for data type sources. If you're using a Windows machine and you have full Office installed on it, you do have Access on it. You could open the MDB file and look at the table inside of Access if you wanted to. But here what's happened is Word has found the only table in that database, and it has imported all of the records and all the completed fields in those records. So when I talk about fields, those are the names here across the top. Last name, first name, address line 1, city, state, and zip code. And when I talk about records, these are the entries on the table, or the rows. And each row has all of those fields completed inside of it. While the textbook doesn't go over it, you could resort this database. Right now it's sorted alphabetically by last name, but if we were going to do bulk mailing and instead of 10 we had 1,000, we might want to sort this by zip code because the post office gives us a break if we do that. We do just want to use this by last name. We don't want to uncheck anything here. We do want to use all 10 records, but it is possible to do that. We could use filters as well rather than manually unchecking. So we say OK, and we now have an existing list, and we are going to continue to move on to our next step, which is to write our letter. Here, Word has made some custom things for us. We're going to start at the top of our letter by writing the date. You'll notice that as you type the date, there is a prompt by Word to just hit enter for the current date, since we've started typing the current date, and that is what we want. So I'm going to hit enter, and I'll hit enter twice, and I'm going to go over to the MailMerge tool and click address block. And I get a window that helps me build the address block properly. Here I have a way of deciding how I want the name written, and a lot of this is based on the fields we might have available in our database. We really only have first and last name. This particular choice is showing first name, last name, and suffix, but we don't have a first and last name only, and if we don't have those other items, it'll just ignore those other fields. But you can see if we had a nickname field, we could use that. We could use nickname, last name, suffix, nickname, middle initial, last name, suffix, formal first name only, and so on. You can look down through these. There are even opportunities for partners, spouses, extra titles, etc. We are going to insert the postal address. We are going to tell it to format the address according to the destination country or region. And it doesn't really affect us here, as we are sending to only US addresses, so this is fine. We can step through our records and see what the addresses are going to look like, and they look fine. We'll use this match fields in the next lesson. So we'll say OK. And this puts the address block. Notice that this is a placeholder. If I click on it, it is all gray. It has no spaces in it, and it is embraced by these chevrons. Then I'm going to hit return again, and I'm going to insert the greeting line, and again I'm going to use Word to build the greeting line. Here I have a choice of customizing this greeting line by starting with dear or to, or having nothing in front of someone's name. Choosing how I want their name written. Maybe I would like to write this to just Joshua, but we'll continue to use his first and last name. We can end our greeting line with a less formal comma or a formal colon or nothing. We'll leave it as comma. If our database has a missing entry for people's names, I could choose what I would like to have there if that field is empty in a given record. And I can, again, step through and preview what my greeting line might look like. I'm going to say OK. I know this next step isn't in the textbook, but one of the great things about MailMerge is we can really customize our writing here. For example, we could address our individual here in this first paragraph by saying, congratulations, so-and-so, on your excellent high school record. So we'd put a comma after congratulations, and to get just an individual field out of the database, we go to more items, and we select that we want the first name, and we select insert. Of course, that name will have a comma after it. We'll close this menu, and we'll put another comma in there, and that will put their name in there. So once we've inserted the customization into our letter, we can go ahead and preview our letters. So right now we see what recipient 3 looks like, and my address is kind of spaced out. It's putting a return in between each line. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the non-printed characters. I have a paragraph here for each line, and we want to just get rid of the space above these lines. So I'm going to remove the space before the paragraph or the address, and I'll click on the city, state, zip. And in our paragraph group, I'm going to remove the space before that one. After I have adjusted the line spacing, I can go ahead and complete the merge. Now, if you were printing thousands of letters, you probably would not want to save a 1,000-page Word file. It's huge. You can print right from here without ever compiling the document. But we don't want to print 10 pieces of paper just to see how MailMerge works. So we're going to select Edit Individual Letters, and this is going to merge all the records into one document. So we'll have a 10-page long document. So I'm going to say OK, And you could watch down on the bottom and watch it build up from 1 to 10. And now when we scroll down through, we'll see that we have 10 letters to 10 different people from the one letter. Our textbook has us save this as the merged congratulation letter. So starting on 373, we have the ability to set up a main document manually. So we'll start with another new blank document. We're going to go to the Mailings tab in the Start Mail Merge group. And rather than following the wizards, we're just going to use the buttons. We'll start with letters. And then once we have told it that we want letters, we'll go ahead and select our recipients from using an existing list. And again, we need to go find our files where we saved them, and I'm going to use the student list ACCDB, which is the Access database file that has the big A on it. Once we have imported a list, we now have a whole bunch of tools opened up here in our Mailings tab. We're going to type our date. We're going to press the Enter key twice. In the Mailings tab here, we are going to use in the Write and Insert Fields group the address block. And we're noticing here now, my address block, I do not have the address. I have first name, last name, city, state, zip, but I'm missing that middle line. So I'm going to have to match my fields. The database must not have an address line label for the field that makes sense to it. So you can see that it's matched up first name with first name, last name with last name, city with city, state with state, postal code with zip code. But address line 1 is not matched. So we're going to pull that down, and we'll find address line from our database fields choices and tell Word that that's what the address line is. And now we have a properly formatted address. So we're going to say OK. We have the address in there. We'll hit Enter once. We're going to select our greeting line. And we're happy with the formatting of that. And then we're going to hit Enter once again. And we'll write our letter. Once we have our letter written, we want to preview our results. So we click the Preview Results button. And up here in the menu bar, we can page through our different recipients and see how they appear. And it looks like our address is a little spread out. So I'm going to select the lines in the address block. I'm going to remove the space before paragraphs up here. I want an extra line after that address block, so I'm going to add one. And I'm going to go ahead and say Finish Merge. And I'll want to edit individual documents because I don't want to print them. So we can watch down in the status bar as it creates all the pages. I'll turn off the non-printing characters, and I can page down through all of my letters and see I have 10 lovely letters here. And that is the end of what I asked folks to do. You're welcome to continue with the lesson and learn a couple other tricks in here, but that should cover the basics for you. Good job.